Hello and welcome to the channel. This is my introduction to ACC to get you onto the track with some information, and this is going to be a series and we'll go deeper dives into all of the different features and settings as the series goes on. So we want to get onto the track. There are 5 ways to get involved on the track. One is to do a championship, one is to do a career, one is to get involved in the special events, one is to jump into the multiplayer, and then one is to use the single player, of which that's got various different things inside it. So there are lots of ways to get involved and use and play on the game. So we're going to jump into single player. We'll go through all the rest, but this is just to get you on the circuit and get you going. So jumping into the single player option, you want to kind of start off, I go for the practice mode is what I'd recommend. Choose a circuit that you know. If you don't know many circuits, then choose any. And I would say put the racing line on to help you out to learn which way to go. This isn't kind of how to race, so there's going to be an assumption that you've got some kind of knowledge that's going on, but no reason that you can't use this to get going. Choose yourself a car. If you've got a car with a padlock on it, and same with a track if you go to select a track, then it just means you don't have that car. It's part of a DLC. So go and choose something else. I'm using the GT3 Evo. They've just released the Ford Mustang as a free update. Then you've got your things in here like your Realism. You have to look through these options. There's a description over on the right-hand side to tell you what they do. I use these settings. I think that's fine. The more real that you have it, the more you're going to be ready to go online or to enter leagues. The more it's like if you turn damage off, then I'd be amazed if you can find a league that's going to say, oh yeah, there's no damage on this because it just encourages rough driving, things like that. Weather, I would say keep it clear for the beginning, but you can obviously come in and do all sorts and do custom weather. You can come across, we can make it variable and say how much we want the weather to change, things like that. Again, slight description over on the right hand side. Oops, I've just jumped out too far there. And the last thing is the assists. It's on custom for me because I have the clutch, the wipers, and the lights on automatic because I can't really, I don't really want to spend time and effort mapping buttons because I had a restriction on buttons at one point, so I just got used to not bothering to make those manual. However, depends on your immersion level that you want. All the options are there. So that's that. Then you can go into start session. So that's all the things we need to do before we get going on this screen. We're going to go and have a quick look at buttons when we get to Trackside. Okay, so here we are at Trackside. We've got a few options in the top left here with drive setup options and quit. They're fairly self-explanatory, I would hope. We're going to head into the options first of all, and we're going to head to the controls. Now, I'm on the controller just to demo this, but if you're on a wheel, I hope that the wheel is green. Now, here's an issue with the game, that if you start the game with a wheel or controller, it is locked to that for the duration that it's open. So I would turn the controller, I'd restart the PlayStation, which will turn the controller off, and then connect with your racing wheel, and then you know that there's no problems going to be there. If you're seeing things like the pedals don't work, but all the racing wheel does, then it's probably because we've started it in the controller. The other thing is to make sure in the options in the controls that you've got wheel selected there. And then you can do it. There's lots of button bindings that you can get set up and get used. As we can see here, we've got shift up and shift down, ignition and starter, and pit limiter. These first 5, I would recommend that you use. So how you do it is you go down, you click apply, which for the PlayStation folks is X. I can't remember what it is on the Xbox, but then you hit it once so that it goes bright red, and then hit the button that you want to map. Works the same for your wheel as well. And if you know what you're doing, you can come down and sort all of these out and fill out your buttons. This is a whole nother video for us though. And the other thing that you want to map is this MFD up or down. So if you go one way or the other, it just means that it'll cycle through and then it'll just keep cycling so you can run in one direction. If you want to go back and forth, there's an up and down that you can set. That's all I'm going to go through on here because there's so much to get through. So that's all there is there. And that's it then. So we're going to hit drive. We're going to come in. You can see that there is a 31 mile per hour limit there saying, hey, enable your pit limiter. So if you've just mapped a button, then you should be able to hit that button and suddenly we've got the pit limiter mapped. In the options, in assists, one of the ones is engine start. If that's on automatic, when you go to drive, the engine will just start. If you've not got it on automatic, you need to map that engine and the starter. So I can turn the engine on with this button, and you can see now just down at the bottom that green ignition is on and off. And then we've got the starter, but if you hold that down, then we start, and then you can use your accelerator and get some nice sound and get some nice revs going. Now the pit limiter's on, the engine started, we can go into gear and we can set off. And that is all we need to know. So now once you're across that line there with the pit signs, you can release the pit limiter. If it's on automatic, it'll come off anyway, and we are away. I would say go and do some laps. Once you've done some laps, hit the pause button. Once you hit the pause button, there is a return to garage. Hit the return to garage and unpause my video, and we'll go through what to do when you get back to the garage. Okay, so we're back at the garage. We will go over pit stops and getting into the pit box, but again, that's going to be another video. Once you've gone out and done some laps, you want to come back in and go to your setup. Choose current setup, and in here, all you want to do is have a look at the PSI hot. So looking at this front left wheel, you can see the PSI hot is 24.6. Now, if you've done 2 or 3 laps, it should be higher than that. However, all you're going to try and do is get it onto 26.7 or 26.8. You want to get it somewhere between 26 and 27. And recently I've been seeing that people seem to like it in the high 26s. So if we want to get to 26.8, then it's currently at 24.6. That's going to be 2.2 that you have to add on. And you just add that number onto your PSI. So we can add on the 0.2, and then we want to get to 26.6. And then that tire's done. Do that for all 4 tires and go out again and do some more laps. So we can come out from that. We can hit continue. We can head out again, do some more laps, come back to the pits and do that once more and check how your tires are doing. And every time you come in, you should find that it gets closer and closer to being the PSI hot being at that 26.8. I would do that 2 or 3 times. If you've got experience and you're consistent, you'll probably find you maybe only need to do it once. But that's it. That's the biggest thing at the moment for going and running some laps, is just getting those PSI pressures up. Once you've got them set and they're kind of safe and working, if you hit the load and save button, which is triangle on the PlayStation, and press X in that preset name, you want to save it, and this is the safe setup, so give it a name. Each car and track has a unique space to save, so you don't need to label this with the car or track because you won't see it all over the other places. And I would call this safe, and it would get a 30 because the temperature, you can just see it past the camera there. If I can find my webcam, I'll make it disappear. There we go. So up in the top right there, you can see that the temperature is 30 for an ambient temperature, and the track's actually at 37. Now, you use the ambient temperature to gauge how hot it is. So we would save that as 30 and then save that setup, and it would appear then on the left. The next time you come in, you can load that up, and we'll go over that. For each degree that it changes, if it gets cooler, the pressures go up by 0.1. If it gets warmer, the pressures go down by 0.1. So you do the opposite to what the temperature's doing. And then when you come in, you can just click load. And if that was set at 27, then we could say, oh, it's gone up by 3 degrees. So we would put these down by 3. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the nice, easy way to go about it. And you can get out and do some laps. That's the first video on getting out and getting some laps. That's episode 1, getting on the track. We're going to cover pit stops in the next one. So hopefully we'll see you for episode 2. Thanks now.